The soul always knows what to do to heal itself. The challenge is to silence the mind. Welcome to Jazz Therapy, where we explore the intersectionality of jazz, the psyche and psychoanalytic thought, spirituality, and consciousness. I'm your host, Jessie Shapiro. Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to 2025. I am Jessie from Jazz Therapy. I'm so glad that you're here. Today's episode is about breaking bad habits, self-compassion, and the incredible jazz piano and resiliency of Phinneas Newborn Jr. Phinneas Newborn Jr., even among jazz cognoscenti, is not very widely known. So we are in for a real treat. I really wanted to do an episode about breaking bad habits because we are now after the first of the year, and this is a time when often we will reflect on things in our life that we would like to leave behind and that we would like to add. So these are a couple things that I would like to work on. Actually, it's probably more than a couple. Number one, not grasping and obsessing in my mind. I can really obsess about things. Like if I worry that I offend somebody, or for example, if something isn't happening on the timetable that I have set in my mind, I can really kind of like watch my mind try to manipulate it and make it happen sooner and just go my way. Number two, sugar, cutting down on sugar. I do exercise a lot, and that's very important to my mental health. However, I am a real sugar monger, everybody. I love sugar. I often really don't eat fruit. My family will make fun of me often because I will eat fruit if it's in a pie or something, but I really don't eat it just on its own. So I'd like to replace the sugar with fruit. Number three, being more patient. I've really observed about myself recently and just felt how impatient I can be. This comes up when I'm folding laundry or even doing yoga. The quality of impatience, it's causing me suffering. So I would like to shift that. I would like to no longer use threats in parenting my children. I would like to work on not being so compulsive about checking my phone. I really am addicted to my phone. Every time I hear that little ding or a notification or something, I go to it and I can feel that attachment and grip there. So I would like to let that go. I would like to be even more self-compassionate. I can catch myself getting into harsh dialogue at times. I've really made a lot of progress with that, and I would like to be even more loving. And as you were listening, I imagine that you might have had some reflections about any of the habits that you would like to break. So let us look at how we can change our bad habits from a scientific perspective, a psychological perspective, and a spiritual perspective. And then we'll go over 10 different tips and tricks we can try to help us to break these bad habits. We'll do a little compassion exercise and visualization, and then we will listen to some jazz. So let's first look at things from a scientific perspective. So I went on the website for the National Institutes of Health, and they have a page on their website. It's very easy to find, and it's entitled Breaking Bad Habits. It shows us just how many of us human beings struggle to break bad habits. And the article gave a statistic that about 70% of folks who want to smoke want to, however, it's very difficult to. And so they're kind of caught in that tension. And I think that's the crux of it. Like, we oftentimes want to change and then we're caught in a tension about it. Habits can also develop when good or enjoyable events trigger the brain's reward centers. This can set up potentially harmful routines such as overeating, smoking, drug or alcohol abuse, gambling, and even compulsive use of computers and social media, end quote. So our brain really gets a hit of dopamine every time we go to do the thing that we want to do, and that makes it hard to stop. Another thing that makes habits especially hard to break is that replacing a first learned habit with a new one doesn't erase the original behavior. Rather, both remain in your brain, but you can take steps to strengthen the new one and suppress the original one. They do give us a couple tips in this article, being avoiding temptations, using visualizations to imagine yourself making the changes that you would like to make, finding a replacement behavior, getting support from others. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. So this is from NIH. All right, so let's look at things making changes and ending our bad habits from a psychological perspective. So one thing I was thinking about is the work of Carl Jung, the great Swiss psychiatrist, and he talked about how oftentimes we have within us tensions. We have opposites inside of us. For example, the part of us that really wants to make a change, and then the part of us that doesn't. And these kind of forces internally will really keep us at a place where we are stuck. Bad habits, they're really coping mechanisms. We're calling them bad habits. However, they are coping mechanisms that at one point we developed to try to manage our feelings, to try to really take care of ourselves. So even though our bad habits might be harmful for us or no longer may be serving us, they did originate in a place inside of us that was meant to try to care for our feelings. So this is really important to mention because of the compassion. One thing that can be very helpful on a psychological level is to name the opposites in a way. For example, I have kind of an inner goblin. I'll call this little inner goblin warthog. And there's this is like the little inner goblin in me that kind of wants to do bad and doesn't want to make these changes. And then there's another part of me that really does. So it helps me though to have named my side that kind of wants to do bad in a way by just, naming him as a goblin. This is kind of an archetype in Jungian psychology and just externalizing it. So this is another thing we can do is like externalizing the part of us that wants to do something harmful for ourselves or continue to indulge our bad habit. And then we can really hold that, of course, those tensions are there. We can have compassion for the goblin. We can have compassion for that goblin, that part of ourself, because that part of ourself originally was trying to protect us. From a Jungian perspective or even a depth perspective, we would say that all of the bad habits or things we do, those are not really part of the true self of an individual. And so I'm going to share with you a diagram right now. I'm going to screen share it right now. Now this diagram you're going to see, this was made by an instructor I had, an incredible therapist, lovely, lovely man and wonderful instructor named Jim Fishman. He's in private practice in San Francisco. He's an LCSW. He's an expert in group therapy and psychodynamic therapy. He created this lovely concentric circle wheel to show us. And on the outer ring are all the addictions we could have: money, food, sex, alcohol, shopping, power, work, etc. Then below that, self-hate, depression, anger, anxiety, boredom, guilt. He does another circle inside the void. And then finally the self. And the self is untouchable. The self is untouchable in terms of what our true nature is. So all of these external behaviors are really not part of the self. So that is helpful to keep in mind as well. They are not our true nature. And thank you so much, Jim Fishman. He did say that we could use this diagram as long as we give him credit. 3, spiritual perspective. All right, I'm going to read a quote. This is from the yoga journal, Samskaras. And this is a term meaning, in Hindu, your habits, patterns, and conditioning. They can be a point of focus for refining the mind and coming to a place of clear perception. People often think of samskaras in terms of negative patterns, but healthy habits like brushing your teeth and exercising are samskaras too. Samskaras generally develop in response to a situation or circumstance, either slowly over a period of time or suddenly as the result of a single strong or traumatic event. So samskaras are kind of like the karmic residue of the habits and the things that we do. And there can kind of be good residue from that and negative residue from that. And here's another quote about samskaras. If these seeds are given a fertile ground, they flourish. The field of our consciousness becomes fertile for negative samskaras to grow when obstacles are present and strong. These obstacles are the ego, or feeling separate to everything else, aversion to pain, attachment to pleasure, ignorance to what really is, and the fear of death. The negative samskaras bed down deep roots within our psyche and eventually bear fruit. The fruit is the fruit of suffering. And this was from liveandbreatheyoga.com.au. So this article is really pointing out the concept of samskaras is that they really can emit a positive, negative, or neutral effect on us. There are many different ways that we can work with our samskaras according to sort of the yogic tradition. And self-reflection is the start. It's the most important piece that is emphasized. And here's another quote. Don't confuse yourself with your negative samskara. The behavior you wish to change is simply a pattern. And however ingrained or strong it is not who you really are at your core. From a Jungian point of view, like Carl Jung would say, the individualized self, the self inside is beyond the splinter of an infinite deity, is everything. And so anything that's at the more personality level, the conditioned level, is not really the truth of who someone is. And in this yogic spiritual way of looking at things, the ego is really defined as the totality of the personality. And that's all kind of the false conditioning of the self. And I really think this is a good point to hang on to, that we are not our habits. This already, just reading that, helps me feel so much more compassionate towards myself. And I hope it does to you as well. So let's look at 10 steps that we can use to break bad habits. Now, these are kind of a compilation that I made for myself, just combining what I read from the scientific, spiritual, psychological perspectives, and just things I've used. And also, my friend Emily's going to give us a little tip here too. All right, number 1, both the scientific, psychological, and spiritual perspective have this in common: self-reflection. What is it you want to change? So first of all, we have to really know what it is that we want to change. And then we have to really think about what benefits do we get out of continuing the behavior, and then what benefits do we not. We can make like a list, a pros and cons list about that to help us kind of reflect on things. Number 2, build a team. After you recognize what you want to change, tell somebody. NIH, the website, also suggested this as well. So for me, I have one of my best girlfriends, Emily, and she and I just decided that we were going to have calls once a week to talk about how we can support each other in our self-growth. And we chat about other things too. And already I just feel better, like she's hanging in here with me doing this. And so I feel like I have some positive encouragement. I can do the same for her, and it just makes it more fun. So tell somebody and get a team in place for yourself. Number 3, identify the internal tension you have. So one part of you wants to change, the other part doesn't. And that is totally okay. That is the nature of being a human being. So name these parts of yourself, like I talked about earlier. Like my inner bad part is my inner goblin, who I named Warthog. Even that, like, I feel ridiculous saying this. However, it's making me smile and already making me take myself way less seriously. And then the other part of me that is inclined to self-development, do the things that are positive for me, like cutting down sugar, eating more fruit. Those are the parts in me that are in tension. So what we can do is we can name these parts, externalize them, because that helps us distance ourselves from the problem, the challenge. This was also referenced, as I just talked about, in kind of the yoga spiritual perspective, that we are not our bad habits. Number 4, write a pros and cons list of what will help you to change. And I got this from Emily, who said she did this with something that she's working on shifting. Number 5, use a mantra or have something to do when you feel drawn, tempted to go do that behavior again. So if I feel like I want to go eat sugar or check my phone, or I'm like really starting to get impatient, this would be a chance to bring in a mantra. It could be one that you already have from meditation. It could even be a word like peace or love. You could also bring to mind a loved one that is always encouraging you or rooting you forward. If you're open to it, this could also be a moment to call in or on divine grace. Not everyone is comfortable with this. However, if you're listening to this show, you probably are, because I'm always talking about spirituality on here. So this could be a moment where you say your mantra and say something like, God, universe, whatever language, help me to care for myself and stay with myself in this moment. I really am feeling an internal struggle, a temptation, help me to just stay with myself and get through this moment. Just Just something simple like that. I do use this a great amount, and the grace always comes. And here's a little quote: God will help us get to where we are going, but he can't drive a parked car. That's Joyce Meyer. Okay, number 6, visualize yourself every day having made that change and elongate that feeling. And this was also suggested by NIH, the NIH article I alluded to, of spending a few minutes every day just keeping your eyes closed, seeing yourself doing more of the behaviors that you want to do. So like I could see myself being patient when I'm in a yoga class, or feeling like I want to have ice cream and some cake at the end of the night, and then maybe checking in, like, what is it that I'm really seeking? A article also suggested that you imagine yourself avoiding temptation. So that's another way we could do. I love that. Visualization is super helpful, and athletes use this. Number 7, celebrate when you take steps in this direction, elongate the positive. This is really big, you guys. I can be really negative and not stop enough. However, when you do have victories, share that and really give yourself some plaudits. Number 8, don't get high and mighty. And I'm putting this in there for myself. So for example, if you are able to have a period of time, say like 30 days is really what people say, the experts say that it takes us to make a change. If you have been able to make a change for a long period of time, watch out for just the ego that can be like, oh, I'm past that now, or I'm so superior, or maybe starts to judge others who might still have this struggle. And this is really a reminder for me. Sit down, be humble, chill it. Number 9, be compassionate with yourself if you fall off track or backslide. So hugely important. This is also something you could share with your team, anyone you can talk to. You know, I fell off the wagon, or I backslid and I did this, or I lost my patience, or I ate sugar, whatever it is. And then just bring that compassion in for yourself and seek it from your loved ones or your team. And then number 10, get back on track immediately as soon as possible with love and compassion. These are the 10 tips and tricks I'm going to be using. I would love to hear from you all. If you have any other ideas, or maybe want to share what has worked for you or what is working for you currently, I love just to hear. We're going to do kind of like a compassion meditation visualization. So just find a comfortable place to sit. This will be short, just probably like a couple minutes. And I want you to just imagine, bring to mind one habit right now that you would like to change. And just allow the first one that comes up in your mind to be there. Just let it be. You'll know. And I want you to bring up a picture in your mind of yourself doing what looks like the opposite of that behavior, or not doing that behavior. So for me, it would be like sitting down, eating fruit instead of sugar, or sitting down, seeing myself being patient. Just really get a scene up in your mind of like, this is a picture of me not doing my bad habit. However, being in a place of calmness and peace and joy about it. Just let that image come up and imagine, how does it feel? What does it feel like? What do you look like? What's your facial expression? Where are you located? Just see yourself in this state where you have let this bad habit go. And you might even notice in this visualization, you might have a temptation arise. That's okay. Let that be there. See the temptation come up, and then imagine yourself deciding not to go through with the behavior or whatever the habit is. Breathe deeply. Just stay with that. And then finally, I'd like you just to imagine that your whole entire body is being filled with this golden light emanating from your heart chakra area. This golden light filling your whole body up through your head, your arms, your legs. This is this beautiful light of self-love and self-compassion. Just let yourself sit in this. We might say, I lovingly care for myself and make changes. I let go of that which no longer serves me. I am compassionate and I am strong. And I am not any struggle I have. My consciousness is infinite. My soul is infinite and eternal. My true nature is that of the divine. And when you're ready, just come back and open your eyes. All right. Well, let us turn to jazz. Now it's time to listen to some jazz. Due to copyright laws, we cannot play the music on air at this time. I will leave links to the songs we listen to so you can pause and listen to the songs along with us. This is also one of my favorite parts of the show, just the soothing, therapeutic nature of jazz in and of itself. The best music on the planet, America's classical music, invented by Black Americans. So let us go learn about Phinneas Newborn Jr. He was a great jazz pianist, and I've often heard him described as a young Oscar Peterson, that the sound he had really was similar to Oscar Peterson. And I think it was either Duke Ellington or it was Oscar Peterson himself that said that Phinneas Newborn Jr. was really going to be kind of the heir apparent to Oscar Peterson. And not a lot of folks know about Phinneas Newborn Jr. And even though I've been listening to jazz for a couple of decades, it was only last year, maybe the year before, that I really learned about who he was. And so I'm really excited to share his music with you all today. So Phinneas Newborn, this is from Wikipedia, was born in Whiteville, Tennessee, and he came from a musical family. A lot of the jazz greats do. There's just music in the family home. So his father, Phinneas Newborn Sr., was a drummer in blues bands, and his younger brother, Calvin, was a jazz guitarist. So Phinneas studied piano as well as trumpet and tenor and baritone saxophone. So he's obviously very musically inclined. So Phinneas got his start in the late 40s in a band that was led by his father. And this is from Overton Park Shell Theater, information on their website. So that band, which also featured his guitarist brother Calvin, was at the heart of the start of modern blues and rock on Beale Street and around Memphis. With them, young Phinneas played on the earliest recordings of B.B. King and also toured with Jackie Brenston. So this is really interesting. His roots were really in the blues, and he's also a musical polyglot. Phinneas Newborn Jr., so he made his way to New York City, like a lot of the jazz greats do, and he played there in the 50s, and eventually he did get connected with Count Basie. He also went to Europe and worked as a soloist in Scandinavia and I believe Rome in the late 50s. And he also did have some mental health struggles. He did have some more serious mental health struggles. Here is a quote from Wikipedia. On March 16, 1960, 29-year-old Newborn replaced Thelonious Monk and performed It's All Right With Me on the ABC TV series Music for a Spring Night. Newborn moved to Los Angeles that year and recorded a sequence of piano trio albums for the contemporary label. Critics often noted his playing style as being too technical, and Newborn developed emotional problems as a result. He was admitted to the Camarillo State Mental Hospital for some periods and suffered a nervous breakdown related to conflicts with a record label during his career. Newborn later sustained a hand injury which hindered his playing. It sounds like he really was a very sensitive soul and, really had some struggles. I will not speculate on what the diagnosis would be, since that's unethical for mental health professionals to do so. However, I could imagine just hearing his music, what a sensitive soul he was. And I wonder about the quality of the treatment that he did receive. Later in life, his kind of playing was intermittent. He did kind of come back into the public eye a little bit in the 70s and 80s, and he also did struggle financially. And he died in 1989. And he was only 58 years old, and he died in Memphis. And I find what is really moving about Phinneas Newborn Jr. is that even though he did have his own personal struggles, and he struggled with, it sounds like, some very severe mental health issues, he continued to just play and let the beauty and let his true soul, the nature of his soul, come through. Because even if we have struggles on the surface level, what is inside the soul, which is infinite, timeless, and eternal, that can never be touched. And to me, that is what jazz is. It is the essence of God. It is playing through the souls of all of these incredible musicians and artists. And Phinneas Newborn was able to continue to perform and just play, even though he had these challenges. Enough of me chatting about this. Let us get to the music. The first song we are going to listen to is called Harlem Blues, and this is from an album called Little Girl Blue. It was recorded in February 1969. Ray Brown is on bass. Elvin Jones is on drums. Now, this is pretty amazing because this trio had never recorded before they sat down to do this album. So let's go have a listen. If you're listening with us right now, give it a pause and pop over to YouTube or any of your major streaming platforms. So this was a lovely version of Little Girl Blue, which I've often heard played as a very kind of melancholy tune. It can be. And this song made me feel, I felt kind of soothed, like I was in a reverie. I felt a little bit hopeful. I would put this song in the category of emotional reverie, maybe emotional elevation. There just was kind of a very light touch to this song. It was really lovely. So let me know as you listened along what thoughts and feelings came up and what you felt as you heard it. Let's go on to our second song. Now, this is Phinneas Newborn's cover of Well You Needn't, which is a monk tune. And this is from an album called, I believe, The Great Piano of Phinneas Newborn Jr. He's accompanied by Milt Turner on drums and Leroy Vinnegar on bass. And this was recorded September 12th, 1962 in Los Angeles. So let us go hear Phinneas Newborn Jr. interpret Monk, Well You Needn't. There's something so alive and lyrical about Phineas's interpretation of Well You Needn't by Monk that is absolutely delightful and beautiful. I really can hear the parallels to Oscar Peterson in this piece. And what a beautiful expression of Phineas and his inner, just like this aliveness that comes out. He's technically so skilled, but the trills, it's like just the inner delight is coming through his hands. This was such a lovely and cool version of Well You Needn't, because Monk's playing is very kind of sparse, and he takes the melody really and modernizes, where jazz was at the time with when he's composing this. And Phinneas Newborn just really takes it and makes it his own. And this is lovely. I would put this in the category of emotional galvanization and emotional innovation, because I feel like he's innovating on this tune, and I feel alive when I hear this tune. Like I want to move. I want to just move around, kind of twirl. There's something about Phinneas Newborn's music that makes me want to kind of twirl and spin, and I can't really describe it. So let me know what you thought and felt as you were hearing this. All right, lastly, our final song. We are going to hear Duke Ellington's Lush Life. Phinneas Newborn is playing this, and This piece was recorded in April of 1989 in Memphis, Tennessee, only 6 weeks before Phinneas Newborn would actually die. So in this piece, he incorporates Ravel into this Billy Strayhorn's tune, Billy Strayhorn / Duke Ellington tune, Lush Life. Maybe I was wrong on that. Okay, so maybe it was really Billy Strayhorn who composed Lush Life and not Duke Ellington. And that is really important because Billy Strayhorn really worked so closely and was such a collaborator with Duke Ellington. He often did not get the credit that he deserved. Duke Ellington got it. So I really want to give him his credit. And he was just a beautiful, gentle soul. So back to Phineas. Phineas Newborn was ill when he made this appearance that we're about to see and listen to on YouTube at the Overton Park Shell Theater in 1989. And he knew this could be his last performance. He died 6 weeks later. So let us go hear this now. Take a pause and hop over to YouTube and listen to this and then come back. That was so beautiful. I was really moved to tears. I've never heard Lush Life like that before. And truth be told, Lush Life is not one of my favorite jazz songs because it really is kind of just about sitting with the pain of loneliness. And there's something about Phinneas Newborn Jr. here playing this at the end of his life when evidently he was ill. It's like he's playing it with like a fullness, like a deep, it's like appreciation of life. It's almost like this sense of even though I'm here and lonely, I'm still vibrantly alive. Like life is still coming through me. The music is still flowing through me. Like there's still so much to live as long as we are alive. That is what I hear in this. It's like the most full, and then the way he can play, and I don't have the technical language to describe it. This to me is the version of Lush Life that I will hold in my heart and my soul is what this song is, the essence of this song. Because this was truly stunning. The power of jazz. So I would definitely put this in the category of emotional elevation, emotional transcendence for sure. So please listen to more of the work of Phinneas Newborn Jr. He is on YouTube and all of the major streaming platforms. Well, just closing out this episode, we talked about how we can change our bad habits. I feel more motivated to do so now. I hope you do. We can totally do this, you guys. I'm going to read a couple quotes just to close this out. Remember, experts say we need 30 days to form or break a habit. And if you just take it day by day, it will not be that hard. That is from Joyce Meyer. So just day by day. And then finally, the only remedy for bad habits is to counter habits. All the bad habits that have left their impressions are to be controlled by good habits. Go on doing good, thinking holy thoughts continuously. That is the only way to suppress base impressions. Never say any man is hopeless, because he only represents a character, a bundle of habits which can be checked by new and better ones. Character is repeated habits, and repeated habits alone can reform character. And all these habits, they are not the essence of who we are. We are timeless, infinite, eternal souls. So just know that and have so much love and compassion for yourself as you make these changes, and I will too. And I will try to report back in a couple weeks, maybe in February, just about how my first month went with these changes. So happy New Year again, everyone. I hope this is a wonderful 2025. I'm so excited about jazz therapy and growing this podcast and our website. Please leave us some comments about what you would like to see or how we could improve, or just any thoughts. Or if you even want to be jazz pen pals, email me at info@jazztherapy.com. And finally, I'm putting this out there to the universe. This has always been a dream of mine, to have a jazz club where maybe every other week or maybe once a month, I get together with a group of jazz lovers, maybe at my house or someone's home, and we do a deep dive into an artist. Like maybe someone does a PowerPoint about an artist, their bio a little bit, and then we get to listen to a bunch of their music. And we have a potluck, enjoy each other's company, maybe play a little jazz Jeopardy, just have some really good food and some nice beverages and just enjoy life. This is just going to share this to the universe that this is a dream and a hope I have. And I would love to have more friends that love jazz. So anyway, thank you so much for being here with me. I will see you soon for our next episode. Thank you for listening, reflecting, and being present with us today. Please leave us a review and comment. Jazz Therapy is edited and produced by Patricio Garcia. Sage Salmon is our social media coordinator. To connect with us, find us on Instagram and TikTok. Our email is info@jazztherapy.com. Check back next week for our next episode. May Jazz Therapy soothe your soul.